Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NTD Tonight. I'm David Zhang. Here is a preview of some of today's top stories. Flash flood and evacuation warnings in Southern California. We'll take a look at current impacts and rain forecasts. Presidential candidate Nikki Haley refuses to drop out. She took a jab at Trump and Biden ahead of Saturday's South Carolina primary. Missing persons cases left unsolved for years. Native American tribes in California are calling on lawmakers and law enforcement to do more. Heavy rain continues to fall in Southern California, prompting numerous flash flood warnings. NTD's Christina Corona has more with a weather update.
Another substantial storm has drenched many regions of Los Angeles, with the heaviest downpours targeting the mountain and coastal areas, causing major flooding and evacuations. Weather forecasts indicate rainfall totals of 2 to 5 inches are expected across the coasts and valleys Tuesday, and 4 to 8 inches across south and southwest facing mountain slopes and foothills. A flash flood alert was issued for parts of Ventura, Los Angeles, and Orange County until Wednesday morning. The intense rainfall resulted in severe flooding in the San Fernando Valley, prompting the closure of Sepulveda Basin to all pedestrian and vehicular traffic. Officials have warned residents to stay away from not only the basin, but all floodwaters in general.
Please, if you encounter a roadway that has flooded, please do as the individual is doing behind me and turn around and don't drown. This could become a very dangerous situation should that driver have chosen to drive through this flooded roadway.
Stay away from the creeks. They're absolutely dangerous. It is swiftly flowing water. And what we don't want to have to do is have somebody get injured or worse, die because they fall into a fast-moving creek.
An evacuation warning has been issued for the Topanga Canyon area due to possible mud and debris flow along Santa Maria Road until 9 a.m. Wednesday. High surf advisory extended until Tuesday for west and southwest facing beaches, predicting waves reaching 10 to 15 feet. Dry weather with warming temperatures is expected to return Thursday and Friday before a possible chance of light rain next week. Christina Corona, NTD News, Los Angeles.
Now let's take a look at other top headlines. At the UN Security Council today, the U.S. just vetoed a call for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. The U.S. ambassador to the UN said the plan could have interfered with efforts to secure a hostage deal as part of the 6-week pause in fighting. The U.S. proposed a rival resolution supporting a temporary ceasefire. It also calls for the release of all hostages and the lifting of all restrictions of humanitarian aid. It states Israel's ground offensive in Rafah should not proceed under current circumstances and warns of serious implications for regional security and peace if more civilians are displaced. It included the risk for neighboring countries in reference to Egypt. The U.S.-backed plan also condemns any calls for resettlement or territorial change in Gaza that would violate international law.
Perhaps a few of you in the media came here today to see if I'm dropping out of the race. Well, I'm not.
Ahead of Saturday's South Carolina primary, GOP presidential candidate Nikki Haley vows today to stay in the race despite trailing significantly behind Trump. Haley says that she will continue to compete in the primary past the South Carolina primary and through Super Tuesday on March 5th. In her address in Greenville today, Haley repeatedly likened Trump to Democratic President Joe Biden, and both as too old, too divisive, and too unpopular to be the only options for voters this fall.
If I weren't in the race, we'd be reading the exact same storyline every day until November 5th. There would be widespread reports of Americans suffering from a bad case of Biden-Trump fatigue.
Haley's remark comes as she continues to challenge Trump for the GOP nomination, though Trump has won every delegate contest so far and holds a wide lead over Haley in her own home state, making many question the path forward for the former governor's campaign. Coming up this weekend is the South Carolina Republican primary, and NTD News will be covering all the action. We'll have a lot prepared for you, including special guests, on-the-ground coverage, and the Data Hub. Join Steve Lance and Tiffany Meyer on The Nation Decides 2024 live this Saturday, February 24th at 6 p.m. The student arrested at the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs is due in court today on murder charges in the fatal dorm shooting. The student suspect, Nicholas Jordan, 25, of Detroit, was taken to custody after authorities found him in a vehicle Monday morning. Police confirmed today that the suspect was the roommate of one of the two victims, and the shooting was not a random attack against the school or other students. Last Friday morning, police were called after shots were fired inside the university's Creston House dormitory. Later, the bodies of the two victims were found. Colorado Springs police identified Celine Ray Montgomery, 26, of Pueblo, Colorado, as one of the shooting victims. Police say the suspect was arrested without incident. Tensions rise between China and Taiwan. Taiwan is condemning China for boarding a Taiwanese tourist boat. Here's what a Taiwanese official said on Tuesday.
It hurt the feelings of our people, created panic among the people, and it was not in the interest of the people on both sides of the Taiwan Strait.
The incident occurred around Kinmen Island, which lies a short distance off China's coast, but is controlled by Taiwan. Yesterday, Chinese Coast Guard members boarded a Taiwanese tourist boat near Kinmen, spent half an hour checking the ship's route plan, certificate, and crew licenses.
They got on our boat and delayed us for half an hour.
The Chinese Communist Party said over the weekend its Coast Guard would patrol around the Taiwan-controlled island of Kinmen. That's after two Chinese nationals died when their speedboat capsized last week. They ventured into restricted waters of the island and were being chased by Taiwan's Coast Guard. Taiwan's defense minister said they won't respond with a military action. At California's capital, Native American tribes are calling on lawmakers and law enforcement to address the high rates of missing person cases and unsolved killings in Indian country. It's the second year they've gathered to raise awareness.
Tribal leaders, survivors, victims, and advocates gathered in Sacramento last week for the second annual Missing and Murdered Indigenous Peoples Summit. Tribal members spoke out about missing and murdered family members whose cases have gone unsolved or unaddressed for years. Many say authorities regularly fail to communicate the status of pending cases, and law enforcement resources and social support programs are too sparse to offer much help.
My sister Nicole Smith was murdered in my home on the Manchester Reservation in 2017, and I'm here to say her name and to raise awareness about her murder and it being unsolved. My parents got pretty ill after my sister passed away, just being heartbroken, always living in fear because the murder was unsolved.
They met with lawmakers, experts, and law enforcement officials to discuss possible solutions.
My aunt was shot on the Hoopa Reservation in the early 80s. She was 18 years old and she died. And to this day, my family does not have a clear story on what happened to her.
My grandson, Nick Patterson, our missing family member, lived with me there at Lookout, and I was probably the last family member to see him alive. Like I said, he was 26 years old. It's been 4 years ago that this happened, and there's been absolutely no resolution of this case whatsoever.
The high rates of missing persons and unsolved slayings involving Indigenous people have captured the attention of policymakers at the highest levels. In 2019, former President Donald Trump signed an executive order establishing a task force. Congress followed in 2020 by passing 2 key pieces of legislation aimed at addressing the crisis. The Biden administration has been working to solve some of the systemic problems and jurisdictional challenges that have left the victims' families feeling invisible. Federal commission members heard hours from family members who have fought to keep their cases in the spotlight.
The son of former YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki was found dead at the University of California, Berkeley campus. The cause of death is currently under investigation. NTD's Jason Blair reports.
Marco Troper, son of Susan Wojcicki, died at UC Berkeley last Tuesday. Troper's grandmother, Esther Wojcicki, posted on Facebook, quote, "Our family is devastated beyond comprehension. Marco was the most kind, loving, smart, fun, and beautiful human being." Troper was a freshman at the college and resided on campus. The cause of death is being investigated. Esther told SF Gate that the family is waiting for a toxicology report. She said, quote, "He ingested a drug and we don't know what was in it. One thing we do know, it was a drug." Toxicology tests can sometimes take a month to complete. Drug overdoses have increased significantly among adolescents the past few years, mainly due to fentanyl, a highly potent opioid. Fentanyl is cheap and is often added to other drugs or put into pills and sold as something else, like Percocet or Xanax. Since fentanyl is 50 times stronger than heroin, it's easy to overdose on, especially if someone isn't aware they're taking it. Jason Blair, NTD News.
We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. A sheriff's deputy saves a baby from the scene of a car crash. Quick thinking and help from bystanders saved the lives of the mother and her 2 kids. Is California becoming too liberal? Recent polls reveal nearly a third of Democrats think so. Evading wreck on the track and a thrilling race at the Daytona 500. We'll take a look at William Byron's recent victory. Those stories and more coming up on NTD Tonight. Welcome back to NTD Tonight. I'm your host, David Zhang. A 6-month-old baby was saved by a Florida sheriff's deputy after a motorcycle collided with a vehicle. NTD's Stephanie Secal has more on the story. And just as a warning, the following video contains footage that some viewers may find difficult to watch.
A Florida Sheriff's Deputy Sergeant Dave Musgrove from the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office rescued a 6-month-old baby trapped in a car wreck after witnessing a crash around 7:30 p.m. on February 8. Newly released body camera footage reveals what happened at the scene. Sergeant Musgrove was traveling in the right lane along South McCall Road near Spinnaker Boulevard in Inglewood when he observed a motorcycle exceeding the speed limit in the left lane. He then saw a cloud of dust, and as he pulled closer, he realized the motorcycle had collided with the car in the intersection. Hearing the driver plead for help with the children, Musgrove rescued a child from a booster seat. The mother told Musgrove she had another child in the back seat. With help from a civilian, he found the second child in an infant seat beneath the deceased motorcyclist who had crashed into their car. More bystanders came to help the sergeant. After removing the baby, Musgrove immediately began chest compressions until emergency medical services arrived on the scene. Despite facing a lengthy recovery, the baby is alive and undergoing treatment. The mother and the other child are also reported to be doing well. The Sheriff's Department praised Sergeant Musgrove and thanked bystanders who came to his aid as well. Stephanie Secal, NTD News.
Recent polls revealed that 30% of Democrats say California is too liberal. They say the state's policies have caused the state to decline.
According to a new Los Angeles Times poll, 30% of Democrats say California is too liberal. It also found that over half of the U.S. say California is declining, and over half of Republicans say the state isn't really American. Critics cite high gas prices and personal income tax, bad public schools, lax criminal laws, among other problems from some policies. They have led to higher housing costs, homelessness, and crime. On California Insider Opinion, people expressed their opinions about the various issues in the state. Lawrence Lee, a parent and watchdog of the San Francisco Unified School District, said San Francisco schools potentially wasted $744 million in taxpayer dollars meant for improving schools.
But part of the deal is you and I, as citizens, will give oversight. We'll be able to reassure the public that the money's being spent okay, right? Because that's, that's kind of standard with city money, with state money, there's some oversight. But in San Francisco, for that $744 million, the head of facilities said, guys, your oversight group is expired. You've been here too long, so we're going to clean you out, and I'm going to have the best-in-class citizen bond oversight. That was the last meeting for 2 years. So for 2 years, there was no oversight at all of how the money was spent.
Rampant crime has taken over suburbs, too. According to Christina Rogers, leader of the Land Park Community Association, there is a growing crime crisis and drug addiction in places that don't usually see such activity.
A mother and her child went to get fresh donuts. As they're walking down the street going back home, there was this erratic vagrant who just randomly punched the kid in the head. And that was shocking to everybody around. I mean, this is in broad daylight, in public, and everybody sees this. We have a lot of people who jog our park every morning. And there was a woman who was jogging at 8 o'clock in the morning. She was right next to a very busy street. And another homeless individual grabbed her, pushed her to the ground, and was trying to sexually assault her. We had somebody from our golf course come over and, rescue her.
Gas prices have remained expensive. Government relations expert Russell Lowry explains how California's unique gasoline regulations have created a tight supply market that is vulnerable to price spikes when disruptions occur.
California has mandates that the only gas available for sale in California is a California-only version of gasoline. And so that means any maintenance, any shutdown, any accident, any disruption anywhere in that system, and a tight supply of gasoline quickly shrinks, which increases the price as Californians still want to drive or drive more.
According to a fact sheet released by the Public Policy Institute of California in August 2023, about 47% of Californians are registered as Democrats, 24% are Republicans, and 23% are independent or have no party preference.
Now for some action from the racetrack. In a thrilling finish at the Daytona 500, William Byron emerged victorious, claiming the checkered flag. NTD's Carlos Reyes has more on the story.
The 2024 Daytona 500 is a race that will go down in history as a pivotal moment for Hendrick Motorsports. William Byron, driving the iconic number 24 Chevrolet, had a singular mission: to put that car on victory lane and launch Hendrick Motorsports' 40th anniversary season. And guess what? Mission accomplished. Byron's victory wasn't without its fair share of drama. As he crossed under the white flag signifying the final lap, a crash erupted behind him, prompting an agonizing wait as he circled Daytona International Speedway under caution, unsure if he was the official winner. The tension in his voice over the radio echoed the emotion felt by his crew chief, Rudy Fugle, confirming that Byron had indeed clinched the biggest win of his career. The triumph ended Hendrick Motorsports' 9-race Daytona 500 losing streak, making Byron the first Hendrick driver since Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 2014 to conquer the Great American Race. At 26 years old, Byron, hailing from Charlotte, North Carolina, secured his place among the racing elite. Rick Hendrick, the winningest team owner in NASCAR history, celebrated in victory lane on the 40th anniversary of his first Cup win. Reflecting on the journey, Hendrick expressed disbelief at the script written on this special day, tying Hendrick Motorsports with Petty Enterprises for the most Daytona 500 wins in NASCAR history. Vice Chairman Jeff Gordon, a 3-time Daytona 500 winner himself, heaped praise on Byron, elevating him to superstar status. Byron, a self-taught racer who honed his skills on computers, shared the victory with his ailing father watching from the grandstands. The race had its share of chaos, with a 23 crash triggered by a collision between Hendrick drivers Alex Bowman and William Byron, leading to a red flag that lasted over 15 minutes. Despite the challenges, Byron held his ground and claimed the victory, with teammate Bowman securing a 1-2 sweep for Chevrolet and Hendrick Motorsports. In the end, it was a breathtaking race that showcased the resilience and skill of William Byron, a rising star who fulfilled his mission and etched his name in Daytona 500 history. Carlos Reyes, NTD News.
Stay tuned for China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer coming up next. And in more China news, foreign direct investment into China plunging to historic lows. What's driving the downturn? More details coming tonight at 9:30 on NTD's China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer. And that's all we've got for you tonight. We would like you to join us again on NTD Tonight every weekday at 9 p.m. I'm David Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.